Is the sequel ever better than the original? That is the question I have today as I go through 5 original fragrances and their flankers to try to figure out which is better, how do they differ, and is it worth your money to have both in your collection? Because here's the thing. Nowadays, every new release is a flanker of something. Companies do not want to put in the effort to build brand loyalty for a new line of fragrances. They don't want to take the risk. They don't want to invest the money. And so we just keep getting flankers on flankers on flankers for things that smell nothing like the original. But I have 5 here today that are supposed to be close enough because one's the original, one's the intense version. And let's talk about whether they go together. Are they similar? Are they cousins? Or are they so totally different they should be completely different lines of fragrances? Let's get into it. Hi, I'm Jeanique, and unfortunately, I've fallen for the okie doke one too many times, and I not only own a few original fragrances, but they're flankers as well. The marketing worked on me. I am the audience, and because of my problematic behavior, we have a video here that is hopefully helpful to you if you're looking at 2 fragrances in a line and you don't want to get both. You want to figure out what is the difference? What do they smell like? And which one is better? I might have some answers for you. So stick around if that's a question you have, like I've had, even if I ignore all the advice that I get. Let's get into it.
Looks like I lost my favorite times.
First up is a fave of mine that I have no regrets about, and it's these 2. It's Jimmy Choo, I Want Choo, and Jimmy Choo, I Want Choo Forever. Look at them, they're cute and I love them. Are they siblings? No. Are they cousins? Absolutely not. Do they even know each other? I guess one watched the other Snapchat story at one point, I think. I don't understand how these end up in the same line. Like how they managed to be successful with I Want Choo and think, you know what a great flanker would be? Something completely different. But this is what I'm talking about in terms of the marketing, because these don't go together, but they're both beautiful. So let's talk about it. Okay, let's talk about how they're similar. They're both fruity florals. That's it. They're both fruity florals. So this one is a peach and lily fragrance. So the texture of it is really waxy and heavy, and it's such a beautiful fall fragrance because of how nicely and heavy it sits on the skin, and you get this really juicy peach. There's a little bit of greenness to it, a little bit of freshness to it, and we get some vanilla and musk in the base that is magnificent. There is nothing not to love about this. We have a little bit of oak moss, which offers this sort of watery greenness that kind of balances out this sweet peach, and it is a huge compliment getter. Do I get chased down the street when I wear this? Absolutely. And I was shocked by that. When I tried this for the first time, it was a part of a discovery set, and I thought, oh yeah, this is pretty. I enjoy this. This is such my style. And then I left the house, and random people were asking me what I was wearing. I was like, what is happening right now? Because so many times I leave the house thinking I smell bomb. I get no compliment. People, even if they agree, aren't approaching me because it isn't pressing. This was pressing. This was pressing. This is a huge compliment getter. So yes, sexy, daytime fragrance, peach, sweet, a little bit of greenness, a lot of freshness, vanilla. It is a beautiful one. This is completely different. This is jasmine, bitter almond. We have heavy cherry in this, and it is the perfect date night fragrance. I guess they go together if one's day and one's night, I guess. Anyway, if you love cherry, very often cherry and tonka go together, but the bitter almond offers this creaminess and this nice juxtaposition to this really heavy, fresh cherry smell, and it dries down to this really like thick, heavy, sweeter cherry that just sits really nicely on the skin. This is a beautiful fragrance that is perfect for date nights. It is so sexy, so wonderful, and you cannot go wrong. I love having both of these because they're so different. When I'm looking to wear one, I'm not looking to wear the other. They're for different occasions, different energies, even different seasons, and I love having both of these. Both of these, yes. Know how I feel about tuberose, right? It is a magical note, right? It just works as a white floral if you love a good white floral. And these, My Way and My Way Intense, are a classic expression of tuberose, albeit different expressions of tuberose. Now here's the thing, these go together, right? They're pretty similar in that you can tell one is derived from the other, but there are some differences. Do I think you need both in your collection? Probably not. I think you can probably pick one, whichever one you prefer, and go with that rather than having both, because I think the seasons they work for, the occasions they work for are pretty similar because the fragrances themselves are pretty similar. So let's talk about My Way, the original, first. Now this is a tuberose fragrance. They're both tuberose fragrances, and this one opens up with bergamot. So we don't have a very tart bergamot, but it is a fresh, bright citrus opening that is incredibly pretty. We have a greener tuberose in this, so nothing that is as heavy, nothing that is as creamy sweet as you might find in other tuberose fragrances. And in the base, even though it says it has cedar in here, you're not getting any cedar. It is barely their woodiness. It is mostly a fresher green floral smell that has some of the sweetness and the heaviness of tuberose with a bright citrus opening that isn't too tart, isn't too bitter. This is a kind of fragrance that you can recommend to anybody. They'll probably enjoy it. It is incredibly flattering. It's universally flattering. There's an easy fragrance to like, and I could easily gift this without thinking too much about it because I think it would smell great on anybody. This takes a few more risks, and this is My Way Intense. It's still a tuberose fragrance, but we get the bergamot replaced by mandarin orange, and it is significant because it makes this fragrance significantly sweeter than the original. In the base, we have sandalwood, but the sandalwood presents a little bit darker and woodier. It's a lot heavier, and it presents and pronounces itself really aggressively. I don't know if aggressive is the right word, but it's there and you can sense it. The tuberose in this is a lot heavier, creamier, and sweeter. It says there is some orange blossom in here, but it doesn't give any of those classic animalic sort of touches of orange blossom. Really what you're getting is a very heavy white floral with a lot of sweetness from the orange and a lot of heaviness from the sandalwood, or as heavy as My Way can get, or as heavy as a sort of mass appealing designer fragrance can get. So I would say this is making more of a statement. This is not as easy a reach as the other because it's not as fresh, but I think it does take more chances, and I think it is a sexier version, a more flattering version. I think it's a more cool weather, cold weather version of the fragrance. I enjoy having both. If I were to replace one of these, honestly, I think I would go with the original, even though I fully love this. There's something about the bright green freshness of the tuberose in here that feels great for everyday wear that I think I would get far more use out of instead of like another date night fragrance. You know what I mean? So even though I think they're both fantastic and I get why people love both, I think between the two, this is the one I would go with. I would not buy a full bottle of both. To say off rip, I'm gonna have both of these in my collection no matter how similar they are because they're so good. They're so good. Let's talk about it. It's Ariana Grande's Cloud and Cloud Intense. No, this usually has like a blue cloud around it, and this usually I think has a white cloud around it. I haven't seen the bases of these in forever because I took them off as soon as I got them because they were taking up too much space. Now let's talk about these. They're pretty similar, right? Like you smell one and you smell the other. Yeah, siblings. They're very similar. There are some marked differences between the two. So Cloud opens up with this lavender. It's a lot more aromatic, right? And it's a lot more fresh and bright. The citrus in here is a lot more pronounced, a little bit tartar. It's a lot airier, like how it sits on the skin. It's like a cloud, right? Like it just envelops you in this sort of sweet cloud. The marshmallow in this is really nice. It's a little bit synthetic, but I don't mind a synthetic. Like, have you smelled a natural smelling marshmallow? No. If you want to smell like a marshmallow, it's going to smell a little synthetic, and this does, but it's not a bad thing. It has this really beautiful airy texture that feels like you can put this on in the height of summer, even if it's sweet, and it's going to just sit really nicely on you. This is such a great t-shirt and jeans fragrance, great everyday fragrance, great go to bed fragrance, great go to work. Basically, you can wear this anytime. It is just so beautiful, and I love the texture and the lightness and the airiness and the sweetness you get from praline and marshmallow in this. I absolutely am obsessed, right? Like, let me just put that out there. This is a little bit different. The texture is a lot creamier in my opinion, and that coconut comes through a lot more. The woods in here are also more present, but I think the thing that stands out, the thing that separates them in my mind, is the texture of the fragrance. It is a lot heavier. Like, it feels like a fall winter fragrance because it just sits on you. It just sits there and it weighs a little bit more. And it is such a comforting fragrance because of that. It doesn't feel airy and sort of aromatic. It feels decidedly gourmand and really heavy and a little bit creamy. And there is that woods in there that present and is assertive. And I really, really enjoy both of these because even though they're similar in terms of the notes that they're bringing to the table, the marshmallow, the praline, the ambroxan, the lavender, the bergamot, they're all in them. They just present in a different way where you have like heaviness, creaminess, a lot of body that is great for coziness. There's something really like light and everyday and fun and playful about this one because it's so aromatic and airy and wonderful. So both of these I'm happy to have in my collection. And as far as the cost of fragrances, right? People give celebrity fragrances a hard time for being kind of basic and not interesting enough. But one of the great things is that very often they get it right in giving us something that is really attractive, pretty, that plays well, that is going to be compliment getting and complimentary at an affordable price. You can usually find these on sale. I'm looking at Ari right now because I've been playing with like a little mini of Ari, and I can find on discount websites for about 30 to 35 Canadian or 20 to 25 US dollars. Now, for a full bottle of a fragrance that performs well, that smells beautiful, that makes you smell and feel like a whole snack in these streets, like, how can you go wrong with that? How can you hate on that for a fragrance that costs $20 at like a niche perfumery? It's just not the same. And accessibility is an important factor to consider when you're thinking about the fragrances you want to add to your collection and how easy it is to replace them when they finish. When this finishes, I won't think twice about replacing them because they're so affordable, they're so easy to find, and I know I will enjoy them for a very long time. I am so happy with these. Get into it. These celebrity fragrances can rock your world just like they rock mine. There's probably no confusion over how the other fragrance differs from its flanker because they smell so different and people talk a lot about these two fragrances and people cape for one or the other but rarely both. And it is Delina from Parfums de Marly and its flanker, Delina Exclusif, which tends to be more popular. So what is the primary difference between these two? So Delina is, I mean, they're both rose, rhubarb, musk, and some kind of woody note. That's basically what we have in both of these, and that's what ties them together. You smell these, you know they go together. That opening from both of them is so distinct, it's so specific, you cannot mix it up. That's the kind of thing where you're like, oh, somebody was thinking, right? When they create something that opens up in a way you've never smelled before, that is what Delina and Delina Exclusif do, but they do so in a slightly different way. So Delina Exclusif is the more gourmand version. It is a lot heavier. It has amber in the base that is very pronounced, and it sits on the skin in this really like creamy, almost gourmand way. The vanilla is a lot more pronounced, and the sweeter fruit in here asserts itself in a way that it doesn't in the original. The original is a lot brighter, fresher, lighter, and summery, and it is also pretty. I think the reason why the original doesn't get as much love is because it is a tartar fragrance. So I've talked about how much I love a tart fragrance, and so it shouldn't come as a surprise how much I love that rhubarb opening. Not everybody loves rhubarb. Rhubarb is not a safe blind buy kind of opening because it is such a specific smell. And it opens up both of them with this very pronounced rhubarb note, where in the exclusive, it kind of calms down, gets reined in by vanilla, and it's put in its place. But in the original, that does not happen. Also, in the original, we have Petalia, and I've talked a little bit about how much I find Petalia to be a really complementary floral note, because it's kind of sparkly and light and a happy floral without having too many, I don't know, disconcerting elements. There's so many fragrances that have like sides of them that might be controversial. Petalia is just one of those that is easy to love. And it also has peony, which how I describe peony is that it has sort of a magical quality. Like it's like if you put like a romance or a romantic filter over something where it sort of looks hazy, that is the experience of smelling peony, which again might not be for everybody. But what ends up happening is that haziness kind of restrains the rhubarb, not by presenting something heavier, more gourmand or sweet, but by making it less aggressive. So in general, we get this greener, fresher floral versus this sweeter, more fruity gourmand smell. And they're both incredibly beautiful. Now, of course, we know the price tag on a Parfums de Marly fragrance. Do I think it's worth it? I can't speak for the universe of Parfums de Marly fragrances, but I will say, having worn both of these, the performance is immaculate. Unless it's a dupe, there is nothing like them. They're very novel in what they present and how they smell on you. They're beautiful and they're very, very classy. I would say Exclusive is the fragrance you're going to wear out at night, dressed up with your friends or on a date, feeling sexy. And Delina, the original, is the kind of thing you wear in the daytime to a special function where you want to feel your most feminine and most beautiful. Both wonderful, both lovely, and I am happy with both these fragrances. Just side note on the dupe that I picked up, Club de Nuit Imperial, that challenges both of them and competes well and is a magical dupe. Let's move on. Now for the next fragrance, do I need both of these in my collection? Absolutely not. Because they're similar enough that I could probably get away with just having one of them. But I love them so much, I have both. And I have travel sizes. And I have lotions. And I make no fucking apologies. It is Voce Viva and Voce Viva Intensa from Valentino. Now, I've talked about how I think this is a signature scent worthy fragrance. And I'm not talking that cop-out signature scent worthy when we talk about, and you have a fresh scent and a work scent and a date night scent. No. If you had to pick one fragrance that you had to wear to work, and to the gym, and every day, and on date night, and to go to the gym, and to go get coffee, and to get brunch, and to stay cozy in the house, and to go to bed, and to do all the things that we do and we want to wear perfume for, what is a fragrance that could transition across spaces? It is Voce Viva for me, easily. Right? It could be, I could wear it in winter, I could wear it in summer. It works. But the fragrances themselves, the both of them, the intense version and the original, aren't that different. Like you can see not just the similarities, they're in some essences almost twins of each other. There are slight differences, but not major ones. So you probably don't need both. But I have both. I'm going to tell you about both. And I can't decide which I would prefer to have. I think the original, but let's talk about it. The original is more complex. It's a little bit fresher. It's a little more sparkly. It's a little bit more of a party on your body, right? Like it opens up with ginger. It is a very fun opening. It plays on the skin. It gets that attention, that interest. The florals in this are white florals. We have orange blossom, which is a little bit waxy, a little bit heavy. Not as heavy as something like tuberose, but a heavy one. And we have gardenia, which is beautiful. And in the base, we got some really rich, full of depth tonka bean. We have a little bit of greenness from moss, not a lot, just a little bit of freshness from that moss, some vanilla, and we have a little bit of woods and musk. It is doing so many things right. right? It brings together all of these elements, a little bit of spiciness, a little bit of sweetness, a little bit of tartness from the bergamot. We get a little bit of green. It brings together all of these beautiful accords and elements to make a fragrance that smells really complex, but also mass appealing at the same time. And I don't say mass appealing as a slight. I think it is, in this sense and in this fragrance, a wonderful thing that they could make it as interesting as it is, but also easy to love. And I love this one. The Intense version leans into certain elements of the fragrance, right? So we don't have the gardenia anymore. We have this orange blossom. We have a little bit of jasmine for greenness, but it's a non-factor. It doesn't even do anything in this. I mean, it does offer like a little bit of soapiness in the mid, but again, it really isn't doing very much. Most of what we're getting is this waxy orange blossom, and it gets heavier in the Intense version. So the texture of the Intense version is a lot more particular, right? We don't have some of those spicy openings like the ginger, but we do have this really nice, pretty sweet orange. And I find that very often orange doesn't go well, right? It comes out smelling like candy or cleaning parts, but the orange in this smells really fresh and really pretty, but we don't have the tartness of the original, and I kind of miss the tartness, right? In the base, we don't have any of that tonka bean. Some of the woods is gone. What we have instead is a little bit of oak moss. It's nice, and it offers a little bit of freshness and greenness, and we have a little bit of vanilla and some sandalwood. It's pretty. It says it leans into the woodiness, right? It leans into the waxiness of the orange blossom, the sweetness of the orange, and so what we get is a far sexier fragrance, a more nighttime appropriate fragrance, but not as versatile as the original, and if I do say so myself, not as interesting as the original because of how much is going on. I think I do like when you turn up the bass on something, and I think we do turn up the bass on the Intense version, but I think there's something missing when we take out the gardenia and we take out the bergamot and the tartness. We take out some of those other elements that makes the fragrance so dynamic. I would say the Intense version isn't as dynamic, but it makes a big statement. It is not as versatile. You can't really wear it for every day like that. It is more a nighttime scent. So it ratchets up these really pretty elements of the fragrance, but there are some things missing here that make it not as fun for me. Now, that's not to say I don't love the Intense version. I love the Intense version and I stay wearing it. But if I had to choose tomorrow to replace one, it would absolutely be the original. And not because the Intense version isn't great, it's just not nearly as interesting. But I still love it. Back to my original question. Original versus flanker, original versus sequel, which one is it? I mean, it kind of comes out as a wash. They're pretty evenly split, although not exactly so, and originals do get it. So let's go through them. As for Jimmy Choo, I Want You, I would rebuy both, obviously, honestly, because they're so different. But this really special peach fragrance that gets me all the attention is one I intend to keep in my collection no matter what. Now, in the competition between Armani's My Way and My Way Intense, I would definitely go with the original. That greener, fresher, everyday tuberose, I think, is a really special one, and I really do love and enjoy having it in my collection. Now, if we have to compare Cloud and Cloud Intense, I'm going to have to say, baby, is Cloud Intense. The creaminess, the heaviness, it is so comforting. It is so wonderful. This is not to say I don't love the original. I do, but I think if I had to pick one, I think it would be this one. I go back and forth depending on the time of day. I can never decide. Now, the competition between Delina and Delina Exclusive isn't even close. It's the Exclusive version all the way, every day. It's not even close. It's not even close. I do love a fresh scent, but I prefer one that is a fruity floral that is absolutely delicious. No, when it comes to Voce Viva and Voce Viva Intensa, we know what it is. We know what it is, and it is by far the original, and by far feels like a little bit of a slight to the Intensa version. It isn't. It is a beautiful, lovely fragrance that I am happy to have in my collection for now. When it is finished, I doubt I will replace it, and I'll just keep replacing this one because I love her. One of my faves. Absolutely. If you have any questions about these, leave them in the comment section. I would love to break things down even further. Own any of these? Do you disagree with my take on which one is better? I would love to hear all about it in the comment section. Thanks so much for checking out my video today. I really do appreciate it, and I hope it was helpful to anybody who is looking to pick up one of these fragrances and was trying to tell the difference between the two, because some of them are so similar, it's hard to distinguish them. Don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, do the things, show me a little bit of love, show me you were here. I would really appreciate it. Again, I'm Jeanique. I'm a sucker for a line of fragrances, and one day that's gonna change, but it's not changing today. No, it ain't.
You've been under my mind. I've been seeing great lights, got in such a great lines. Let me talk to you in straight lines.